This was the scene at a Donald Trump campaign rally in Ohio yesterday. Secret Service agents rushing to protect the Republican frontrunner after a protester jumped a fence and charged the stage. The concern was understandable, with growing protests and even violence at Trump campaign events. All this as the GOP race reaches a potential turning point. 5 states go to the polls Tuesday, including Florida and Ohio, both winner-take-all and the home states for Marco Rubio and John Kasich. In a few minutes, we'll sit down with Governor Kasich, who says he'll drop out if he loses Ohio. But first, Donald Trump, live from Chicago. Mr. Trump, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Thank you.
Even before you had to cancel your rally in Chicago on Friday, there had been growing violence at some of your rallies around the country, and some of your rivals in the Republican race say you have contributed to this with your rhetoric. Question, sir, do you take any responsibility for the violence at your rallies?
First of all, I disagree totally, Chris, with what you said. I have by far the biggest crowds, 25,000, 30,000 people. Last week we had in Alabama 35,000 people. And out of that, we'll have some disruptors, sometimes put there by other people. But we'll have some protesters, and nobody's been hurt at all. And as big as these rallies are, nobody's ever been hurt. We talk and we try and be good, and I will tell you, some of the protesters are very rough, and they're bad dudes, and they swing and they punch, and nobody ever talks about that in the media. And if other people, including the police, because it's usually the police that handle it, if they get a little bit rough because they have no choice, the next day in the newspaper it's that the police are rough. But we have had nobody hurt. And when you think about it, when I have 25,000 and 20,000 people very routinely, by far the biggest, and we have some protesters stand up, who do you know that's been hurt over the last number of months?
Well,
nobody. Nobody's been hurt.
Sir, let's take one example. First of all, we've just been running video that shows a number of punches being thrown. I don't know that people have ended up being hospitalized, but let's take one example. On Wednesday in North Carolina, a protester named Rakeem Jones was being peacefully escorted from the event. Not saying he didn't do something provocative. Yes, you can see he flips off the crowd, but then a man in the crowd elbows him in the face, knocks him to the ground, and here's what that man says afterwards.
Yes, he deserved it. The next time we see him, we might have to kill him.
Mr. Trump, does that have any place in America?
No, it doesn't, and it's a shame that it happened, and I feel badly for everybody concerned, and we don't condone violence, but the kid did, from what I hear, stick up a certain finger right in everybody's face, and this man has had enough, because I'll tell you what, people in this country are very angry. They're angry at incompetent politicians. They're angry at losing their jobs, not having a pay increase for 12 years and more, effectively. This country is not, we can't beat ISIS. Our military is going to hell. You look at what's going on with the vets. They're treated horribly. They're treated worse than illegal immigrants. We have a big portion of this country that's fed up. You look at the Rust Belt and other areas of our country where our jobs are being taken. They're all being moved down to Mexico and other locations. They're being moved out of the United States. We have a president that doesn't have a clue. He doesn't know what's going on. And the people of this country are angry. They're not angry people, but they're angry now.
But you say, and you just said again, you don't condone the violence. But, sir, the record is clear, and we're going to put up some tapes. You have condoned violence in rally after rally. Again, take a look.
Just knock the hell. I promise you, I will pay for the legal fees. I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
In the good old days, they'd rip him out of that seat so fast.
If there's a group out there, just throw him the hell out. That's okay.
That sure sounds like condoning violence.
Well, I'll tell you what, first one, I was told by Secret Service that there were 2 people in the audience. They couldn't find them. They didn't know where they were, but they had tomatoes, and they were going to chuck them at me, and maybe they had good arms, okay? And, you know, being hit in the face with a tomato is not exactly so good. So before I started my speech, I said, folks, you have 2 people out there with tomatoes. If you see them, do whatever you have to do to them. I don't care. And you know what? I think I'm totally within my rights to say that. But everything I say, and in fact, if you would play 99% of the clips, I'm always saying, don't hurt them, take it easy, don't hurt them. And I'm saying that to the police, who are really mistreated in this country, by the way. They're not appreciated for the great job they do. But usually it's the police. It's not my people. It's the police in the various municipalities that I go to. And honestly, they really take it easy. And again, Chris, with rallies of 25 and 35,000 people, you don't know of one injury in any of our rallies. And the one place where we could have had a problem was Chicago. And other than at your network, I've been given very, very good credit for canceling. Because if I would have had that, we'll postpone it, actually. If I would have had that rally, you would have had a lot of problems. And those were professionals. I mean, those were real professionals. And they weren't protesters. They were disruptors. They were professional disruptors. They came in with the Bernie Sanders signs right out of his printing press, and they were disruptors. And I will tell you, though, Chris, with all of the rallies that you've been witnessing over many months, you haven't had one person that's even been hurt. And I'm sitting here listening to you tell me like, oh, you know, like everybody's being maimed. It's not that way. And I have often said, do not hurt them. And you've heard me say that, but you don't want to play those clips.
All right, let's move on to another issue. You've also created a controversy this week with your comments about Islam. Here they are.
I think Islam hates us. There's something there that there's a tremendous hatred there. There's a tremendous hatred. We have to get to the bottom of it.
Now, Mr. Trump, there are 1.6 billion Muslims in the world today. 1.6 billion, and according to the best experts, think tanks all around the world, they say at most 100,000 people are fighting for jihadist causes. That's it's a tiny fraction of 1%. So why draw a battle line against an entire religion, including major countries that are helping us in the fight against ISIS?
You're saying that out of 1.5 billion, 100,000, right? Let me tell you, whoever did that survey was about as wrong as you can get. It's 27%, could be 35%, would go to war. The hatred is tremendous, Chris. Now, look,
wait, you're saying 250, 300 million Muslims would go to war against us?
Why don't you take a look at the Pew poll that came out very recently, or fairly recently, where I think the number, I mean, I could be corrected, and it's whatever it is, but it was something like 27% are, really very militant about, going after things. And you'll have to take a look at it. They did a very strong study. And let's see what it says. But it's a very significant number. It's not 100,000 people, I can tell you that. That's a ridiculous number. But look, there's something going on, Chris, whether you like it or not. It would be a lot easier for me just to say, oh, no, everybody loves us. But there's something going on. There's a big problem. And radical Islamic terrorism is taking place all over the world. You look at what happened in Paris. You look at what happened in California recently with the 14 people killed by coworkers, by people where they gave them baby showers, and then they walk in and they kill them. They shoot them. They had no guns. They had no weapons. They had no nothing. They shot them. They killed them all. And I mean, there's something going on, Chris. We can be very nice and we can be very naive and say everything's wonderful. All you have to do is look all over the world. There's a great hatred out there.
You also said this about the war on ISIS.
We have to knock out ISIS. We have to knock the hell out of them. I would listen to the generals, but I'm hearing numbers of 20 to 30,000.
Which generals have told you, sir, that we need 20 to 30,000 U.S. ground troops in Iraq and Syria?
Well, that's what I heard the number. That doesn't mean I do that, by the way, but that's what I heard the number is in order to eradicate. And it could be quick. Maybe we should do something quickly because this cancer is staying with us forever. I mean, we've been fighting in the Middle East now for 15 years and longer.
But all the generals we talked to say that's
spending money at a rate, and Chris, and in the meantime, our infrastructure in our country is going to hell. Our country is in trouble, and all we do is spend money in the Middle East. I mean, either eradicate them or get out. I mean, what we're doing is crazy. We don't have
But all the generals that I've spoken to say 20 to 30,000. I mean, yes, we may need more troops there. We may need forward observers. We may need people, special forces, to help Iraqi ground troops. But putting 20 to 30,000 American troops back in Iraq and Syria, they have grave doubts about that, sir.
I'm not saying do it. I'm saying that's a number that I heard you would need. And I never said do it. I said that's a number that you may need. But look, let me tell you something. Whether you like it or not, I was against the war in Iraq, okay? I'm one that said, don't go in. You're going to destabilize the Middle East. I was totally right about that. So I'm not like this big war hawk. But now you have people chopping off heads. You have people drowning, 40 and 50 people in steel cages at a time, Chris. And now we have to do something. And the reason we have to do it is because of the power of weaponry. They're looking to get weapons, and they're looking to acquire weapons that are going to be very, very horrible for our country if they ever do it.
Mr. Trump,
and we have to eradicate these people.
I have two final questions I want to ask you. Trump University, I don't have to tell you, has become something of an issue in the campaign trail, with some former students saying it's a scam. Here was one of them.
I was trumped by Trump. I was duped by the Donald.
But you put out a video this week in which you showed that same man's report card about Trump University.
Here's his report card on the school, the quality of presentation, quality of everything. Excellent, 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 all excellence, 100%.
But now the New York Times reports that that man, Robert Guillow, says that he was pressured to give those report card grades, the excellence, by his instructor, who said he'd be fired if he didn't get them. And the Times talked to other students who say that they came under a lot of pressure to give you good reports.
Oh, really? And they did that with 10,000 people? Let me just tell you, this is a law firm. It's a class action firm. They sue a lot of people. They're trying to get money. I don't settle cases. I will go to court all day long with this case. Almost everybody in there has given report cards saying it was excellent. We have an A from the Better Business Bureau, and you didn't report it on the show. In the debate, you did something very dishonest. You didn't report it. You told me, and you told the whole world watching the debate,
first of all,
that we had
sir,
a D, and we didn't have a D.
Sir, you know as well as I do. I didn't ask the question.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about Fox.
Okay.
I gave you the report card. I gave you the A during the debate because they said it was a D and it was an A. And I gave you the A from Better Business Bureau.
But don't you think we have the responsibility to check it out, to find out what's going on? And the fact is, it's a little more complicated than that because Trump University has been out of business for several years, so they're not getting so many
No, not out of business. It's not out of business. It's suspended until I win the lawsuit.
Okay.
And after I win the lawsuit, hopefully I'll be in the White House and I'll have my kids, my kids will open it up.
But I promise you, if Marco Rubio gave us a piece of paper in the middle of a debate, we're not going to simply start reading that.
Oh, I think you would. I think you would. Actually, here's the story. You said Better Business Bureau gave me a D. I said that's wrong. I got, during an intermission, I called in. They sent the A rating. I got an A rating from Better Business. I handed it to Megyn Kelly, and they refused to put it on. That is not honest.
I think it's just wanting to check the facts. But in any case, let me answer. You're going to like this last question, so bear with me on this. Because for all of the controversies...
Sure, I love it.
I promise you, you will. Here, you can tell me afterwards whether you like this question. For all the controversies, you are doing very well right now. You have a solid lead in the delegates, and as you have pointed out, turnout is up considerably. There's a 67% increase in votes in Republican contests over 2012, up 67%, 23% down in Democratic turnout compared to 2008. You say that you have been leading a movement, and I want to briefly, we have less than a minute, explore that with you. What's the movement? What do these people want? And what are the chances that you could effectively lock up this race on Tuesday? Now, wasn't that a nice question?
Well, I think I like that question. I like the statement, too. I'm glad we're finishing with this. Look, people have been disenfranchised in this country. Great people, phenomenal people, people that have built this country. They've been totally disenfranchised. Trade deals have taken away their jobs all over. Our military can't beat ISIS. Our veterans are being treated horribly. Our health care is horrible with Obamacare, where premiums are going up like nobody's ever seen before, 45, 55%. There are so many things wrong with our country, and I'm going to straighten it out. And people understand that. We're going to straighten it out, and we're going to make America great again, and that's what it's all about. And there's never been, they say, in the history of this country, what's happening right now. And by the way, it's been very friendly with no injuries, no injuries. I mean, if I listen to you, it's like everybody, like it's a rampage. There's been no injuries, Chris. Remember that. No injuries. And we did a good job by postponing the other day in Chicago. No injuries, Chris.
Mr. Trump, thank you. Thanks for your time, and I hope you and all the people attending your rallies stay safe on the campaign trail, sir.
Thank you very much.